You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Doug Boldt, the city manager of Tiffin. Doug, good morning.
Good morning.
How's
Thanks
everything in Tiffin?
Good. No complaints.
When I think of Tiffin, the only word I have is amazing of what's went on out there in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some population history in it. When 1990 was 456 folks.
Yep.
And today it's like close to 6,000.
Yes. Yeah. Our population has doubled every census basically from 1990.
Amazing.
Yeah, like you said, 1990 basically called 460 people. In 2000, it was 975, which again is not a big number, but it's a double.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, it was 1947. Again, not a big number, but that's another double. And in 2020, we were 4612, which I think like a lot of city managers or city administrators thinks that number's a little bit short. It's a little low, but, you know, again, that still represents yet another double for the community. And by our comp plan and based on the number of residential water meters we have right now, I think we're well on our way to another double in 2030. I think we'll be probably 10 to 12,000 by 2030, which will be another double. Now, to double that between between 30 and 40, that might be a stretch.
Yeah.
But we'll get another double by 2030.
When I think of Tiffin, I remember I first moved to town in 75, 76 time frame. And everybody went to Tiffin for one thing.
The Lark.
The Lark. And Bob and Shirley Thompson, and it's the best steak. I mean, I still starting to make me hungry thinking about it. And they also had a half a head of lettuce, a salad that was mind-boggling if you had it, and the food was fabulous. And everybody ate it. It's hard to get in.
Yeah.
The Lark parking lot was full. And what's there now? I'm trying to think where the Lark was.
So that's right on Highway 6 there.
Right.
There's a commercial building there with storefronts on the
Used to
main
have
level and then residential up top. Yes, the
Taco or the Mexican place.
Casa Tequila was there, and they've actually moved out to off of Park Road.
Well, another thing about the growth is the school systems, and Clear Creek is just on a rampage.
Yeah.
It's just amazing with the schools and the grade schools and the facilities Clear Creek has.
Yeah, we actually work with their consultant every year and point out the developments that are going on and, you know, what type of housing is going to be in those developments and when they're going to be online so they can make better projections for the school board and what they need to prepare for. But again, a solid school district. They're a great partner with us, and they're just growing like crazy too.
Yeah, they're a 3A school now, aren't they?
Yes.
Are they thinking 4A the way the growth is, or not?
You know, honestly, I'm not sure what that cutoff is.
Yeah.
But they've got to be getting pretty close.
Yeah.
And someday they will get there.
When you look at the facilities and the track and the football field and soccer, baseball, it's amazing.
Yeah, and they've got a big plan to enhance that area too, ball diamonds and practice fields, so forth like that.
Well, let's start out, Doug Boldt. You're from Durant.
From Wilton.
Wilton. See, I keep mixing that up.
That's right.
And
you're
say close.
That in Wilton, and you'll get run out of town.
So you're from Wilton, and tell us where you came from. Tell us about your family, if you'd like, and schooling, and just how you got to be a city administrator in Tiffin.
Again,
walk us through it.
Grew up in Wilton. It's ironic. I did spend a lot of time in Durant. Right?
So it's close.
We went to church in Durant, worked in Durant, so I did spend a lot of time there. But yeah, I went to Wilton, and from there went to UNI. And, you know, I got into this kind of in a weird way. I was a summer help seasonal employee for the city of Wilton when I was going to UNI, and the city administrator that we had at the time, his name was Richard Wartenberg, one of my mentors. He was the city's first administrator, and then he left for probably 5, 6, 7 years. And then when that administrator who replaced Richard left, he came back. And so he kind of came back halfway through would be freshman year of college summer. And so when I came back as a sophomore, I got to know him a little bit better. And he was a guy that started his day with us in Public Works. So he'd be there at 6:30, 6:45, he, even though our days and weeks were planned out, he said, hey, what's on the agenda for today? And then he'd hop in his vehicle and drive up to City Hall. And about 3/4 of the way through the summer of my sophomore year, I just kind of went up to him. He came down to the Public Works facility in the afternoon one day, and I said, Richard, I said, I don't exactly know what it is that you do. I said, but I kind of been watching you, and I said, I leave to go to school next week, and I said, if you wouldn't mind giving me about 20 minutes of your time, I'd love to come up and ask you some questions. He said, sure, fine, no problem. Well, that 20 minutes turned into about an hour and a half, and I left for school the next week, and I wiped my schedule clean. I changed my major. I changed my advisor, and got into public administration, and that's the degree I graduated with, and that's kind of how it started. Did an internship with the City of Independence, and then took a job as director of public works for the city of Maquoketa, and that's kind of where my passion started, was in public works. I tell people that gosh, I rode on the back of a garbage truck and filled potholes and all that kind of stuff, and
public works is you get involved with streets, building streets,
Yeah.
sewer, water.
yeah, capital projects.
Capital project. Not an engineering background, right?
No, just public administration. Always with the idea that at some point I'd become an administrator or a manager. And so I left Maquoketa for same position in Tipton, and was promoted to manager in '05, and had a short stint out of the profession for about 3 years in the private world, and that was good. It was fine, but realized it was not where I was going to end my career, and decided to get back in. And when this position opened up, I didn't know, like you were saying earlier, I didn't know really anything about Tiffin the way I knew it growing up, because we were, Eastern Iowa Hawkeye Conference. We used to come up here to compete and everything like that, but that was really it. It's ironic that one of the first phone calls that I made was to Ryan Heyer, and I was asking him about the position, and he had good things to say, and really said, what really tipped the scale was, he says, you've got a solid mayor and you've got a solid city council. He said, Doug, you really should look at this position. And, I interviewed, and they offered, and I accepted, and it's been really good. I have no complaints.
What year did you come to Tiffin?
2015.
15, so going on 8 years, right?
Yeah, just past 8 in May. Wow. Doesn't seem that way. I mean, it seems.
Of course, I'm getting old, so doesn't seem like 8 years you've been out there. So tell us about, you have 3 children?
Yep. I've got 2 that'll be in college next year, and I've got 1 that's going to be a junior, and not exactly sure what I'm going to do when the youngest gets off. Everyone says that being an empty nest and all that is a good thing, but I think I'm going to struggle with that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it is different around the house. So,
but
well, tell us about Tiffin. Anything you'd like to talk about? What's going on? Obviously, we had a lot of growth. What are your challenges? Just whatever you want to talk about Tiffin.
One of the, interesting things about Tiffin, obviously, is its location. We get to be right outside of a lot of culture and diversity and events that go on in North Liberty, Coralville, and Iowa City that we wouldn't necessarily do, and we like that, and that makes us a bedroom community. We accept that. We take that on. We own that, I guess you could say. And so our economic development up until now, and I want to talk about this a little bit later, our economic development has been housing. That's what we've done, and I think that's what we've done well. I think we're reaching a point in which commercial development is now coming, and we need to embrace that as well. But the things that come with rooftops and quality of life issues, which everybody wants, that's what makes a community, I think, what it is what we're dealing with right now. And the other thing that we deal with is infrastructure. We got to have the infrastructure to make sure that we can continue to grow, and that we continue to grow wisely, and that we continue to grow in the areas in which can handle what it is that's going to be there. And again, I think we've done a pretty good job with that. We've got a little ways to go, and we've got big projects on the horizon, but I think we've got a good plan to make that happen.
I'm glad you brought up infrastructure because a lot of people, they buy a house, they never think about sewer and water.
Right.
It's just a given. We obviously have sewer and water, but tell us what you go through with for example, the sewer plant, and meeting state requirements and the water quality and all those good things that people wouldn't know about.
Right. And, we upgraded the plant. There was a plant upgrade basically being designed when I got here in 2015. So we finished that in 2017, 2018. And what's ironic about that is we're probably not going to see the full life of that before we need to expand again. But it's really hard to, build a facility for 3 times your population, at one time.
Right.
For one thing, that's expensive. But, the plant that we expanded in 2017, 2018 will probably take us to about 10,000 people, which means in about 2030, we'll probably put on another expansion that probably takes us to 20,000, maybe 25,000. And again, that takes a lot of planning, takes a lot of coordination with the DNR to make sure that we are, falling within the guidelines of that. The flip side of that is water. We got to be able to have water to supply to the residents. We just drilled our 3rd well in the city this summer. And, we've got another water tower that we're probably going to be building within the next 3 years. We'll have a second water tower, which, and again, you have to size that accordingly. And this happened before I got there, but as I understand it, the water tower that we wanted to build, that we actually ended up building, was not the water tower the state, the DNR, was going to allow us to build because they thought it was too big. And we had to convince them that the growth was there, the growth was coming, and that it needed to be the size that we were planning. And again, a lot of back and forth through that. But, those are some of the obstacles that you run into when your growth is what it is.
Where's the wastewater treatment plant?
So it's south of the railroad, pretty much in the center of town, south of the railroad.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where it is.
And of course the water treatment facility is right off to the east of that as well. It's kind of the same place.
I think a lot of people that the average person in the public doesn't realize that when you do wastewater or water, you run it through the state approves it, you have to meet their guidelines, and that's expensive. It isn't like you just run out and have an engineering study and just put up a water plant.
That's true.
It's got to be approved, and you have to meet their standards. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
Right. And, the unfortunate thing about that is rates get affected.
Right.
We did a rate increase in 2017 as a result of the plant upgrade, but, rates hadn't been nothing had been done with rates since the early 2000s as far as wastewater had gone. So it tends to be a little bit of a shock, but it's just kind of what's necessary to make sure that the plant can operate.
A lot of people never think about they buy a house or a condo or a duplex or whatever, and they live in a city, and they don't understand the streets are dedicated to the city. They have curb and gutter.
Right.
The street department has to plow the snow, pick up the sanitation, the trash. It's got to be picked up by the city. The water, the sewer, all that goes into that. So, and then of course property taxes. A lot of that goes to the school districts, but I don't think people realize the amount of service that the municipality has to provide the customer, which is the public.
Yeah, and I guess I would tell you that the municipal umbrella is a lot larger than what a lot of people think, as far as the services that we provide, the things that we do, the policies and procedures that affect, just your average citizen.
Right.
I don't, just that umbrella is a lot bigger than what people think.
Tell us about your council. Tell us about your mayor, if you want. The folks you work with.
Very fortunate. Great leadership with our mayor and council. I can't say that. I can't emphasize that enough. The amount of just positive leadership that we have within that group. I'm very fortunate, very blessed to work with that group. I've worked with a lot of mayors and a lot of councils, and this group, probably a little cheesy for me to say. They employ me,
Right. That's your boss, right?
but it is the best group that I've worked with,
Right.
and just they all have they all have their own little niche of what they're good at, and that's what makes, in my opinion, makes a good council, is that you've got little bits of expertise there, and then they listen to one another. When the other individual speaks about something that maybe they don't quite have the knowledge on. And again, when all that comes together in the same room, the same meeting, same night, it's powerful. And I've been very fortunate to be a part of that. And, knock on wood, I've said this many, many times before. In 8 years, I'm going to jinx myself. I shouldn't say this. In 8 years, I've never left a council meeting upset. I've never
Really?
left a council meeting angry.
Great.
Can't say that I can say that, anytime other than, before this, but great leadership.
So a lot of it, is casting the vision. I mean, I'm sure the council sets out how they want to see Tiffin grow, what's important to them. So another thing is that I don't think people have any idea of the time and effort the mayor and the council have to spend of reading material, their packets,
Yep.
understanding zoning, plating, whatever's going on, infrastructure issues, city issues, police and fire. There's a lot of work to it. That it's obviously a political body. They're average citizens or leaders in their community that run for council, and the amount of work and effort that they have to put into that, I don't think anybody appreciates that.
Yeah, you can't do this job, the 2 nights a month and call
Right.
it good.
Right.
I'm in constant contact with the city council, and it's, they're volunteering. Any board, commission, school board, there is a small stipend for a city council person, but in essence, it's a volunteer position. But yeah, you have to keep up. You have to ask questions. You have to know what's going on, and like I said, I'm in seems like constant contact with them, which is good. They need to have that information, and they need to be, they need to represent their community, their ward, their district. We don't have those, but that's typically how it goes, and they need to be responsible to the voting public, and you can't do that without information.
So you lead based on their direction.
Yeah, I do. It's a cooperative thing. I don't think that I think we all go into it with the same mindset that we're all in this together. We're all one team, and we all have the same end result in mind. Nobody really sticks out like a sore thumb. Unfortunately, I know that happens out there. I've had other councils where that's happened, but when you're all sitting there with the big picture in mind, it makes my job, it makes work a lot easier.
I think another thing I was amazed one day. I was out in Ridgeway, our subdivision north of town, on the north side of Tiffin, and I was standing there and I was looking to the, I suppose, southeast. There's Kinnick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm in Tiffin, so you don't realize how close it is
Yeah.
to Coralville, Iowa City. However you look at it, North Liberty obviously too, but you're just out there going, I can't believe I'm seeing the top of the press box.
Yeah, and you can see the Children's Hospital right there,
Yeah.
obviously, with it. Yeah, the very tops of it.
And what great housing and different types of housing opportunities Tiffin has. And some great residential areas, just all kinds of good things happening in Tiffin.
Yeah, we actually tweaked our 2014 comp plan in 2017, approved it in 2018 to kind of address the things that you just talked about as far as a kind of a percentage breakdown of what we'd like to see in new subdivisions, especially where they're at, if they're on an arterial road or collector or local road or something like that. And I think that's served us well.
Yeah, I think you have a diversity of housing. I think it's great, the housing stock. You can have apartments, condos, duplexes, houses. I mean,
Yep.
you got a little bit of everything. And also some fabulous houses have been built in Tiffin.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of open area and space. So what's you got a great housing stock. You got some beautiful subdivisions. What's Tiffin need? What's it lack? What are some things you could talk about that? I know one thing I've heard mentioned is like a rec center or swimming pool or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What's
We
going
do
on?
get that a lot. And what the city council has done recently is we have a ballot referendum on September 12th for a local option sales tax. We're one of, we're one of the few communities in the state of Iowa that doesn't have that. Johnson County is one of the few counties in the state that doesn't have that as well, which is fine. But it does allow us to go on our own, be part of the pool of the communities in Johnson County that has it. And if that passes on September 12th, I think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of our capital projects going forward. One of them, I think it's pretty safe to say that one of those projects would be a recreational center in some way, shape, or form. I think another project would be a fire station / ambulance, and then another project that we would probably be looking at would be an all-purpose, all-access playground, park. You know, those are kind of three projects that are kind of on the short list, and the passage of a local option sales tax would accelerate those things and supply some funding to the projects that would be very, is needed, or else, we just don't have the capacity to do all those things at the same time.
Tell us about what exactly that means. What's sales tax in Iowa? 5%?
It's 6%. So this would add 1 cent
So
to
it'd
that
be
7%.
See, I'm up 10 years ago, 5%. I was raised.
Yeah.
So who would pay sales tax if you had an increase working on a car, buying groceries?
Groceries, medicine, those
It's
kinds
exempted?
of things they're exempted.
Okay.
And so there are certain goods and services that are contractual
Okay.
services, and online, purchases are subject to the 1%.
Oh, really? Because a lot of people do Amazon, right?
Exactly, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't know is that
Yeah.
the 1% does affect the online sales.
Hmm.
Our prediction is that if this would pass, it'd probably generate about $600,000 for Tiffin. Half
year?
of that
A year?
Yep. Half of that we would use towards property tax relief. We have to. State code says that, but that's a good policy anyway. And then the other half would be for those types of capital projects. Our ballot language reads public safety, public infrastructure, economic development, and park and recs.
So how are you promoting it, or how do people in Tiffin know that that's coming up September 12th?
Well, we've got some educational material that we're actually going to be putting out at the end of this week. The city can't actually, promote the vote as a positive or a negative vote, but we can supply the information to the voting public, and again, that's the objective of a local option sales tax, is to let the voters decide, let them make that decision. So we'll get all the information out there of what it is, what it would be used for, and the voters will make that decision on the 12th of September.
It's probably a low turnout, right? Usually for something like that.
It's
not an election year, so.
This isn't an election year, but it's not on the general election ballot. That's a good question. If we got 20%, that would be good.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope people get out and vote, because I hear it all the time. I hear some type of place like a YMCA or rec center or what. Like North Liberty's got a fabulous rec center.
Yes, they do.
People use it all winter, and they got a nice swimming pool. And I know they're expensive to operate, but I hear that, and then I hear more restaurants and more commercial activities, and so tell us a little bit about that. And then you got a new thing along the interstate, the pin seekers thing.
Yeah, and I mentioned that earlier about how our economic development efforts have been residential housing, and now that we have the rooftops to support commercial, we are going to start turning our attention to that a little bit, and try to capture some of the things that a community that's going to be 6, 7, 10,000 would have, and that is restaurants, more quality of life things, expansion of of our park system, but the businesses that feed into to one another that you see, I wouldn't call them necessarily partners, but you see them next to one another, and they feed off of one another, and it creates a nice little commercial district. And we have those areas in town. We've got a nice district along Interstate 80. We've got the one off of Forever Green Road, the new interchange. We've got Highway 6. All of those areas have pockets of commercial development, that, for one reason or another have been, waiting on traffic, waiting on rooftops, waiting on population. And I think we're there to enhance that.
And you got a great Fairway. What a great
Yes.
store Fairway is for a grocery store.
Fairway was a big win for us in 2017. That was a huge win, and that'll be a big spark on Highway 6 for that area as well. Great partner for the city.
So you got some slides here, don't we?
Yeah.
And then also you got
things.
is it a Trek Fest or what do you call it?
Yeah, Tiffin Rec Fest we've
Rec
got
Fest.
coming up here on
Not
August.
Trek, that's Riverside.
That's
what
right.
Am I thinking?
August 5th, I'd like to put in a little plug for.
Yeah, let's look at, want to go through your slides here?
Yeah, just a couple projects. So the original town, it's interesting. That is and was Tiffin when we talk about how the population was, 450, 460 people. That's original Tiffin. Wow. And we have urbanized that to curb and gutter, sidewalk, new streets, storm sewers. And that's a 3-phase project. The 3rd phase will be bid yet this year and anticipated to be completed in 2024. And that'll be, again, a complete urbanization of new street, storm sewer, sidewalk, curb and gutter. It'll look like the rest of the community. Another big project for us is the expansion of Park Road from where it terminates as a 4-lane road just south of Oakdale all the way down in front of the 2 elementary schools to the roundabout. That's a 2-lane road right now. We will expand that to 4 lanes. We're working with the school right now to improve the access in and out of there. There might actually be, we're evaluating whether or not a roundabout halfway up to the entrance to the school there might be more beneficial than the entrance that's there right now. So we're working with the school on that. But that project will probably bid in 2024. The roundabout might alter that just a little bit, but I still think we'll probably bid that in 2024 and complete that in 25. And this is our new public works facility that we moved into in February. It's kind of kitty corner from City Hall. This was kind of an interesting project in the fact that we started it before the derecho, and it got caught up in COVID, and we had to shelve it a little bit, and then we brought it off the shelf and got it completed and moved in February. And, this is a building that we're hoping will last the community 30 to 40 years with the number of bays that we've included. And on the what's the left side or the office end of it, we did add a 2nd story of office space for just future growth and expansion. And so that's a nice facility, near and dear to me, obviously, with my public works background, but that's been a great facility so far. A couple neat things here, and this slide and the next slide. So we just had this rededication, and unveiling of this sign last night. So Jim Bartles was a council person for 35 plus years in Tiffin, and he did not run in this last election, and this ground where the park is was a vote of a 3-2 vote, and when he was on council, and then that vote was the one that purchased several acres that now is the city park, and Jim was instrumental in that. So we dedicated and did a ribbon cutting last night for the Jim Bartles City Park, and that was pretty special. And again, the next one, I think a lot of people know Glenn Potter, between being a council person and the mayor of Tiffin, was had 48 years of experience and grinding through it all those years. But we dedicated this right before Christmas. But Potter Park was an existing park that we just kind of, like I said, rededicated, and we did that before Christmas. And so these signs you can see from Highway 6, they pop, they jump out, and they're sharp looking. So we're proud of that. Pin Seekers, Top Tracer, a lot of people know it as Top Golf, is building. You can see that from 380 when the nets went up. That's hard not to recognize, hard not to know what it is if you've ever driven by them. But I understand the turf was delivered last week. That thing's moving along. They've got an opening date of September, probably closer to the end of September, but that's going to be a really nice entertainment venue for Tiffin. And the one thing that I like about it personally, I went to my first Top Golf here about a year and a half ago, and I went with my daughter and my dad. And the one thing that I liked about it is that depending on what you do in the game that you play, it levels the playing field. My dad is 80 years old, and I rightfully so. I outdrive him by 100 yards. And my daughter at the time was 17 and on the golf team, but she sprays a little bit right and left, and I'm not straight down the fairway by any stretch of the imagination, but all that goes away when you're at a Top Golf or the game that you decide to play, because you're at targets and there's dozens of games that you can play, but it doesn't matter the club that you hit, and it doesn't matter how far that you can hit it and everything like that. And that was one thing that was really fun, is that we could be. We could have fun being competitive with the gap in talent and skill and age. So I think this will be really fun.
And you can play all winter, right?
Absolutely. They've got heated bays. And,
yeah. That's what's nice about it. Have a drink if you want.
Yep.
So while we're talking about golf, do you want to go back to your high school days as #1 golfer? You had a story we were talking about earlier. So the previous guest was Sean McCarty.
Sean McCarty.
So you got a Sean story. This will be good.
I've told this story many times. Sean probably would not remember this. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. He was a year ahead of me, and the home course for Wilton and Durant was Wakanza. It was halfway between Durant and Wilton. And his senior year, he set the course record at Wakanza, shot a 32. There is a long par 5, hole number 5 at Wakanza. And on a good day for me, I'd probably hit driver, 3-wood, 8 or 9 iron into the green. That'd be a good day for me. That'd be a good day for most golfers.
Yeah, with the wind behind you maybe too.
Back when I was in high school. That day, Sean took driver, 6 iron, to the green, 500 plus par 5, and he was actually deep. His ball was probably 32, 33 feet on the back edge of the green, and he rolled that putt in for an eagle, and it was just one of those days. We were just in awe of him and how what his skill level was, how far he could hit the ball. But yeah, I set the course record that day, 32, and it was impressive.
Par 36, so he's 4 under.
Yeah.
What'd you shoot?
That day?
Yeah.
I'd been lucky to be bogey. Bogey golf.
44, huh? 43. Whatever. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty intimidating, but Sean probably didn't talk a lot, did he? He probably just enjoyed it.
Sean was not a man of many words.
Played golf and
but he was a stoic golfer, and you could learn a lot just by watching him, because I know everything was perfect. Right. Everything was on.
West Branch was always solid there for a number of years, weren't they?
Very. Yeah, they had a list of golfers top to bottom, and they were just phenomenal.
Hard to crack
and they
into
still,
that group.
and they, I think they still are.
Yeah,
they're pretty solid all the way up and down.
So Pin Seekers was at our last slide. So
I think so.
you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up in August, the Rec Fest in Tiffin?
Rec Fest is a family-friendly event, kid-friendly event that I think this is probably the third or fourth year. It's gone through a couple of iterations. It used to be called Tiffin Fest years ago, and then that was there was city participation in that event, and then it took a year off, and then it was kind of rebranded a little bit within the community, and it was run privately, and then that probably ran its course for about 3 or 4 years, and now we have brought it back in again under the umbrella of the city. And so again, that's August 5th. Lots of fun events in the city park there. We've got a 5K run walk. There's 3-on-3 basketball, boys and girls. There's a Zumba class in the morning, and then for the kids from 10 to 4, there's inflatables and face painting and a petting zoo and train rides, and the fire department's there with the dunk tank, and there's going to be a Lego building contest, and there's adult kickball, and there's a bags tournament and a 3-point contest, and then
you're going to have Caitlin Clark out for the 3-point contest.
I wish we could.
She'd probably win it.
She'd have to shoot left-handed, I think, for anybody to actually compete. And we end the event with a family rodeo in the auxiliary field on the other side. And
real animals? Or?
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Huh. Well, that sounds like it. What date is that again? So
Saturday, August 5th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's on our social media pages, website, Facebook. So
I was reading something about
town.
you were talking about an IMAX theater somewhere, Tiffin?
So Fridley Theaters has announced that they're going to build next to Pin Seekers and Top Tracer up there.
Really?
Yeah, so that'll be a really neat, like I said, entertainment hub. So, like I said, they've made an announcement. They're still working on plans and concept and so forth like that. We don't really have an opening date for that. That's probably a 16 to 18 month build, but they made the announcement last fall, and
great.
We're excited about that too.
You got the big stadium seats, so you can rock
IMAX,
back
and
fall asleep, or hopefully.
Yeah,
not.
if you've been to an IMAX theater, you know that it's unlike any movie watching experience that you've
you don't
had.
get that at home. You have to go out. Of course, you can get popcorn too if you go out, right? So, what would you tell us about what you're most proud of in Tiffin since you've been there?
Oh,
What have you accomplished, or
That's,
council, or how would you look at that? What are you most proud of?
well, I think that we've grown the right way. I think maybe that's something I'm most proud of. I'm really proud of the leadership that our mayor and council has. I'm really proud of the trust that they put in me and the staff. Our staff has grown. We've more than doubled the staff since I've been there. And again, we've got a great team. And I wouldn't trade any of our employees for anybody. And I can't wait to hire more to provide more services for the community. But what I'm probably most proud of is how we've all been able to be on the same page, understand what the big picture is, know what growing wisely means, and through our capital improvements plan and our goal setting sessions and our work sessions that we have, we keep the big picture in mind, I think, in about everything that we do. And I think that's important. When you lose sight of that big picture, things, start to go a little goofy, and we've not experienced that. And again, the leadership from mayor and council on down is something I've really enjoyed, really proud of. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Like I said, we've got a great group of employees, council. Looking forward to the next 5 to 10 years, easy.
What keeps you up at night?
Oh, my Dodgers not winning, that's one thing.
I haven't even followed baseball this year.
They're in first place.
They still are.
Yeah.
But they got the talent, right?
That's true. They got the payroll.
Yeah, definitely.
What keeps me up at night is just making sure that I can continue to wrap my arms around everything that's going on. That's not easy, and it takes an army to do that. We have a small army, but that's probably what keeps me up at night. And I know that I can't keep my arms around all of it, but that's why we have such a good team, and that's why we've got the leadership that we do, so we can handle those things, and we can continue to grow the next 5 to 10 years and provide the things that the community expects their city, their government to provide for them.
Does how has the Forever Green interchange changed Tiffin? The Mixmaster on the interstate, has any of that helped, or how's that been for you guys?
Well, Forever Green interchange has added a new front door
right.
to the city. We're very fortunate to have 2 front doors
right.
to our community, so that has been a game changer. The interchange itself, as everybody knows, is extremely busy, and that's going to just add visibility to our community. And that's something that you can't put a price on. You can't put a price on that type of visibility that you're going to get in 2 different directions. It's priceless.
There's a quick store. I think that's in North Liberty, right across the street. That's going to go in that corner, be a beautiful store.
Yes.
And that'll help too. So, and then coming in on Highway 6, you got that beautiful roundabout, which is amazing, going around a kind of slow traffic.
That was a nice project for us to have. Actually, traffic on Highway 6 has been a big issue since I've been there.
Right.
I've told this story many times that I brought a couple people from the Ames DOT office down, and we got in my car and we drove up and down Highway 6 probably a dozen times. And to simply say to them, this has got to change. This is not working within our community, within our city limits. And because of that, you've seen the traffic signals at Roberts Ferry Road and Highway 6. You've seen traffic signals at Highway 6 in Deerview, and you've seen the roundabout at the east end by the schools. And we have another set of traffic signals that's going to be installed next year at the park entrance, Kimberlite and Highway 6, that's going to go into the park entrance and then go north there by Fairway. And we need to continue to mitigate that traffic on Highway 6 in order to get people from point A to point B safely and in a timely manner in which it's not frustrating. And that's what it had been. There was 4 different speed zones in any one given time of the day from east to west. 4 posted speed limits,
right?
And that's not normal.
Are you still? Do you have a police department at Johnson County Sheriff?
We contract with Johnson County Sheriff's Department. Again, great partner. We've been doing that for decades. Brad, Sheriff Kunkel, I know he's been on here before. Yeah. Sheriff Kunkel, great partner, great group of people. Great. They do have an office in City Hall, so they do have some space in there, and that's been new. We did that here once Public Works building was completed. We were able to free up some space, so that's been since about February, March, and that's been a great addition as well.
Tell us about the trails. I know south of town you have a trail that goes.
Yeah, actually,
is that going to go all the way to Kent Park?
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That was kind of on my list, and I'd forgotten about that. That's one thing that Johnson County is just what a benefit to have all those trails, and very fortunate to go in and out of all of the communities. But so we've done 3 trail projects since I've been here in 2015 to complete the trail system within Tiffin. And then I know Johnson County has secured the ground from the end of Clear Creek Trail to Kent Park, and I know that they're working on some grants and stuff like that. And yeah, that trail go from Kent Park all the way underneath the 380 and in and through Coralville to Iowa City, and it's
Camp
great.
Cardinal Road goes up there and winds around.
It's
if you
huge.
haven't been on that trail, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Through Coralville and out.
Yeah. Between runners and walkers and bikers, that thing is busy, busy, busy. Part of it goes right by my office, so I see it every day.
Well, if you haven't been to Tiffin, I highly encourage everybody to go to Tiffin. Yeah. Look around, drive around. Yeah. There's a lot going on. It looks fantastic. It's a great community, great school district doing fabulous things. It's warm. It's inviting. It's Iowa at its best, and it's so close to Iowa City, Coralville. It's right there. You're right next door. It's convenient. Great place to raise a family, have children. great school system. You got it all going
Yeah,
on. out
it's a
there.
great story. You're
yeah,
right. From
it is.
from 460 to 45
or
you know.
560 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And to
yeah.
go from the lark
Yeah,
back in the old days when you had a steak, now you just look at everything you have. It's just,
yeah.
it truly is amazing to see the growth and how things have went on over time out there. So
I agree. And
congratulations. by
thank
the
you.
way.
Like I said, I'm happy to be a part of it.
Great. Well, it's good to see you today, and thanks a lot for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.